On this channel, I talk quite a bit about the world of Hyatt. I've been a globalist for the past few years, and I really like the benefits that it's given me. I've gotten things like room upgrades to suites. I've also gotten welcome gifts that end up being full fruit baskets, chocolates, bottles of wine, and also bottles of champagne. I've gotten resort fees waived on paid stays, free breakfast every time I go, and then also I've gotten access to the club lounges that can end up having full meals inside of it, and even sometimes be better than the lounges that are in the airports. Hyatt is great, and they have been good to me, and I have really enjoyed staying at their properties over the years. Some of my favorite memories when I have traveled have been at Hyatt hotels. And while I am a big Hyatt fanboy, reaching Hyatt Globalist and also maintaining Hyatt Globalist isn't easy. You see, to achieve Globalist with the world of Hyatt, you need to reach 60 elite nights. Now you may be wondering, did I stay 60 nights at a Hyatt hotel each year that I became Globalist? The answer to that is no. I did a few different tricks to be able to get Globalist, and I'm gonna go over the 6 different ways to help you also reach Globalist. I'm also gonna go over why I'm probably not gonna be reaching Globalist again in 2025. So let's go over the first trick to help you reach Globalist. Now this is gonna be one that is pretty easy, and anyone who is already a fan of the world of Hyatt is probably already taken advantage of. This is going to be to get the World of Hyatt credit card. Now with the World of Hyatt credit card, you automatically get yourself 5 elite nights just for having the card. So this is already going to be a way to help you climb up the status ladder to be able to get yourself to Globalist. And on top of that, for every $5,000 you spend, you get 2 elite nights. And if you have this card and you spend $15,000 on it, you also get a free night award certificate. So what ends up happening with a lot of people who get this card is that they like to spend $15,000 on the card, which will end up giving them 6 elite nights for spend on the card, and then also 5 elite nights just for having the card. So if you end up doing that each year, you already have knocked down 11 elite nights without even staying at a Hyatt property. You do have to weigh the math of whether or not this spend could end up having better use with going towards welcome offers, but if you don't end up seeing yourself as getting many different welcome offers throughout the year, and you find spending $15,000 on your World of Hyatt card isn't that hard, then doing that will definitely help you reach Globalist. The second trick is going to be to take advantage of the promotion that the World of Hyatt seems to have every year to help you quickly climb up the status ladder. You see, for the past few years, Hyatt has had at least one time a double elite night promotion where if you happen to stay at certain properties, you can end up earning double elite nights, which can end up being great if you already have one of these properties booked and you are going to be staying there to help you climb up the status ladder really fast. Now, typically there is a cap for how many bonus elite nights you can get, but say you happen to be going somewhere for 10 nights to stay at a Hyatt property that is also offering a 10-night cap for the bonus elite nights, well, just from that one trip alone, you got yourself 20 elite nights. And if you add the 5 elite nights that you get from the card and also the $15,000 spend, well, now you're already more than halfway to reaching Globalist. The double elite nights is something that I took advantage of last year, and if I didn't do that, well, I wouldn't have been a Globalist for 2025. And as of recording this video, it seems that Hyatt actually has a double elite night promotion going on. It happens to be with Hyatt under Canvas, which I'm not really familiar with. But if you happen to stay at one of these properties during this time, you'll end up getting an additional elite night for each night that you stay. Now you may see brands like this one within the world of Hyatt and think to yourself, well, I'm probably not going to be staying at these, so I won't be able to take advantage of these double elite nights. The great thing is that Hyatt in the last couple of years has sent out targeted promotions where they will send either giving people a free night if they happen to stay a certain amount of nights at Hyatt, or you can end up getting double elite nights from this promotion as well. So there can end up being a targeted promotion where you need to register and you can get yourself double elite nights at any Hyatt property. So definitely look to check your email or look to try to register with the World of Hyatt if one of these targeted promotions is swirling around the internet. Because if you could take advantage of a promotion for double elite nights at a property that you're already looking to stay at, and then also double elite nights for a targeted promotion, well, this can end up being a really great way to fast track yourself up to being a Globalist. Now I do want to add that I'm not recommending for people who happen to see the double elite night promotions just run out and start booking these type of properties all over, even if they didn't already have trips planned out. What I'm saying is that if you already happen to have a trip planned out for the time of the promotion and you happen to not be staying at one of these properties, well, see if there is one of these properties in the area and then switch over your stay to being at that property. This is exactly what I did, and it wasn't really anything different when it came to cost. All I did was just switch the property and was able to get myself double elite nights. So I wouldn't change my entire trip to take advantage of this, but I would change my hotel that is in the same city that may end up only being like a couple of miles away to be able to take advantage of it. The third trick is going to be to take advantage of the Guest of Honor award benefit. Now, for those of you who aren't familiar with the World of Hyatt's Guest of Honor, how it works is that you can gift someone else Globalist status for one of their stays. Now previously, how Hyatt had it when it came to guest of honor award bookings was you could pretty much do an unlimited guest of honor award bookings as long as you had the points in your account to be able to make that award booking. However, Hyatt changed what guest of honor award bookings were last year, and instead what they did was they made it so that you only had a certain amount of guest of honors that you could give out to people, but they made it so that the guest of honor award bookings could be for either paid stays or award stays. Whereas previously, there were only for award stays. Now you would think, well, if I go from having unlimited guest of honors to only a few that they end up giving me each year as I become a globalist, that seems like I'm losing out on benefits. Well, what Hyatt did as well was they made it so that when you end up gifting this guest of honor award certificate and that person ends up using it for one of their stays, you earn yourself an elite night. So what Hyatt did last year is they gave every person who was a globalist a few of these already in their account. However, this year, you have to go up the status ladder to be able to get yourself guest of honor award booking. So this change actually helped me because last year, I'm pretty sure that 4 people ended up using my guest of honor award certificates. So because of that, I earned 4 elite nights. And if I didn't end up getting those additional 4 elite nights, I wouldn't have reached globalist status for this year. The fourth trick is going to be to take advantage of one of the different status match opportunities that the World of Hyatt offers to help you reach globalist status. Hyatt has different status match opportunities. They had one with Bilt rewards. They also have had one where it ends up being a corporate challenge. But usually how the status match challenge ends up working out is that you have to spend 20 nights at a Hyatt hotel over the course of 90 days. Now, you may end up hearing that and go, well, that ends up being quite a few hotel stays for such a short period of time. However, for a lot of people, when they are traveling, they usually have the bulk of their stays during one part of the year, and then there's a lot of time of the year where they're just not staying at properties at all. So this ends up being how you travel, which ends up being how most people travel. You probably can end up taking advantage of this and getting 20 elite nights during this time period and becoming a globalist just from spending 20 nights at Hyatt hotels. Now, you won't reach all the milestones and get all the milestone benefits from doing this, but this is one that I have taken advantage of previously in the past where I was a globalist, but I didn't even reach 60 elite nights. So if you do see this pop up and you have a trip plan for the time that is the status match challenge, well, I would say that if you happen to not be staying at Hyatt properties, it could make a lot of sense to change over to Hyatt properties to be able to reach globalist, even if you aren't going to be earning the milestone benefits. The fifth trick is going to be to do a mattress run. Now, for those of you who aren't familiar with what a mattress run is when you book a stay at a property, not to actually stay at the property, but strictly to earn the elite nights. Now, I've been asked before if I've ever done a mattress run, and the answer to that is yes, I have. I've done a mattress run before when I've only needed just a few more elite nights, either to maintain globalist status or reach globalist status, or there's other times where I did end up doing a status match challenge, but I was able to do a few night mattress run just to be able to get myself one of the Suite Upgrade Award certificates. Every time I've ever done a mattress run, I've always weighed the cost of doing the mattress run versus the benefits and perks I'm going to be getting after it's all done. And it's always way outweighed it. Say you only need 1 or 2 more nights to be able to reach the 60 elite nights to get globalist, it's probably going to make a lot of sense to do a mattress run in that instance because of all the different benefits and perks you're going to get when you end up reaching 60 elite nights. Now, I've never done a crazy long mattress run like some of the people that I've read about on the internet, where they may end up getting a status match challenge and then they need to do 20 elite nights over the course of 90 days, and they do a mattress run for that entire time. This is something that I've never come close to doing. Spending money or points on 20 nights can become very costly, which ends up cutting into all those gains that you're going to be hoping to get as you become a globalist. I want to cut into my gains as little bit as possible. And if I see it ends up being too much or it is too much of a hassle, then I'm just not going to go for it. The hotels know that their programs are a game, so don't get too much caught up in the game, because if you do, you can end up losing out a lot of money from it. And when I say that I've done mattress runs before, I've only done them when they're incredibly cheap. There used to be different tricks out there where you could do a mattress run where it ended up costing under $20 a night for some night. Now, some of you might be wondering, well, how were you able to get it so cheap? Now, one, this trick that I'm talking about no longer exists, but even if it did still exist, you have to understand that while I want to help out as many people as I can on the internet, when some things are really, really good, you're just gonna have to go figure it out for yourself, because if I tell everybody, it's more than likely no longer gonna be available to me. Those of you who know, and it was fun while it lasted. And the sixth and final trick really isn't a trick. It's one that is super obvious, but I still feel that it needs to be said. It is going to be to prioritize primarily staying at Hyatt properties. Now, I know many of you are probably thinking, well, obviously, if I want to get globalist, I need to stay at Hyatt properties. But you'd be surprised how many people want to become a globalist who stay at Ritz-Carlton properties. you're not going to become a globalist if you're staying at Ritz-Carlton properties. I mean, if you have an unlimited amount of travel time and also an unlimited amount of points, well then sure, you can stay at Ritz-Carlton properties and become a globalist. But the people who are having a challenging time becoming a globalist are going to be because they can't reach the 60 elite nights. So if you can't reach that 60 elite nights yet you want to become a globalist, stop looking at staying at Hilton properties and Marriott properties and Choice hotels. You have to solely focus at staying at Hyatt properties. Each year that I have become a globalist, I didn't start off the year telling myself that I was going to end up being a globalist at the end of the year. What I ended up doing was I had a bunch of Chase Ultimate Reward points that I transferred over to my Hyatt account and said that I'm going to solely stay at Hyatt properties. And because of some luck throughout the year, I earned things like double elite nights. I also ended up getting a status match challenge for a stay that I already had planned out and booked. People used my guest of honor awards that I earned from the previous year for being a globalist that now allowed me to become a globalist for the next year. I spent on the card when I found that I had big spend but wasn't working on a welcome offer. I just did all these different little tricks to allow me to become globalist without even seeking out being a globalist at the start of the year. This is the reason why you need to tell yourself that you're going to be solely staying with Hyatt. Because if you are someone who happens to travel at least a decent amount, even if you didn't think you were going to become a globalist, you may out of some sheer luck the way that I did become a globalist because you already had trips with Hyatt hotels booked up. So as obvious as this is, even if you only happen to have 3 weeks of vacation, if you have the entire focus of those 3 weeks as being at Hyatt properties, you may somehow end up being lucky enough to become a globalist after your stays. Now that I went over the 6 tricks of how to become a globalist, some of you may wonder, well, why don't I think I'm going to become a globalist again this year? There's a few different reasons for that. The first reason is that it is really difficult to get 60 elite nights. As I said earlier, I've never stayed 60 nights with Hyatt in 1 year. Last year, I was fortunate to reach full globalist, but the first couple of years I was globalist, I was it in the way that people call online globalist light, which meant that I had globalist status, but I didn't reach the 60 elite nights to get globalist status. And while the status match challenge is great with Hyatt, I don't actually know if I qualify for it this year because you can't do it every single year. So if I'm not eligible to do a status match, well, that ends up being one less avenue that I have to be able to reach globalist. The second reason is some of the tricks that I used to take advantage of are just no longer available to me. Like I used to spend more money on my World of Hyatt card and be able to hit that $15,000 spend to get that free night award certificate and also the 6 elite nights that come with it, but that spending trick that I used to do is closed off for the future. So now with subtracting that and looking at my other spending, I don't know how much spending I'm going to be putting on my World of Hyatt card. I'll probably end up reaching a couple elite nights, but I more than likely am not going to be reaching that 6 elite nights that I used to be able to get in the past. Also, if I happen to need some cheap elite nights for a mattress run, it all seems to be drying up. I don't want to be spending over $100 a night to be doing a 3 to 4 night mattress run, whereas previously I might be spending $100 for 4 elite nights. This just cuts way too much in the gains, and it's not the game that I'm willing to play. Sure, there may end up being some super cheap Hyatt hotels that are at some faraway places that I could end up going to if I really wanted to do this mattress run, but I'm not going to go through all the effort to be able to get myself these elite nights. If it's not relatively easy and cheap, then I'm perfectly fine with not reaching the next status level. And then when it comes to promotions of things like double elite nights, I've been really fortunate with being able to take advantage of these things in the past, but this is just not something that I can rely on in the future. And when it comes to guest of honor awards, I was fortunate that Hyatt gave a bunch of these out to people who were previously globalists, whereas now you only end up getting them as you climb up the milestone ladder. So not only am I going to end up having less of these, but it's also going to take more time for me to even get any of them. But honestly, the biggest reason why that I don't think that I'm going to end up being globalist again, unless of course it just falls into my lap, is because I stayed at a few Hilton properties last year and had a really good time. My sixth trick was to mainly focus on staying at Hyatt hotels, which is something that I was trying to do last year. However, when I went to Osaka, the caption hotel in Osaka wasn't available to be able to book with points. So instead, what I ended up doing was I had my American Express Platinum card that gave me a $200 Fine Hotels and Resorts credit that I was able to use at the Conrad in Osaka, which covered almost my entire stay. Plus, I was also given free breakfast along with a $100 property credit. Having a pretty much free night stay along with a property credit and free breakfast at this really nice property gave me a stay that I absolutely loved and I'll never forget. I think that the Conrad in Osaka is probably one of the more underrated properties in the entire world. This stay alone had me questioning my loyalty to Hyatt, because while I do love staying at Hyatt properties, and I have noticed that when I am staying at lower end Hyatt properties as compared to lower end Hilton and other brands properties, that my experience has definitely been way better with Hyatt. But when it comes to the higher end, the Conrad properties are really nice, So why am I only gonna be loyal to Hyatt other than for trying to reach globalist? There's a lot of things about Hilton that I like. They have great cards, and then also, when it comes to status, you don't need to have only just the top tier diamond status for it to end up being meaningful like it is with globalist. Because the other lower statuses with Hyatt aren't even worth looking at because they give you so little when it comes to benefits. However, when it comes to gold status with Hilton, the status is meaningful. If you happen to be in the US, you get yourself a property credit daily. If you happen to be traveling overseas, you get free breakfast, and it's not like the bootleg free breakfast that you may end up getting in the US. When I got free breakfast at the Conrad in Osaka, it was just as good as any Andaz or Thompson or Park Hyatt breakfast. And I don't have to do all sorts of tricks to get Hilton Gold status. Just from having my American Express Platinum card, I already have Hilton Gold status. And if I wanted to get access to the club lounges with Hilton, then what I would need to do is get myself the Hilton Aspire card that does have a $550 annual fee, but also has a slew of credits that easily offset the annual fee. But even if all the different credits didn't offset it, I'm paying $550 for the top tier status with Hilton that gets treated really well when I travel overseas, whereas with Hyatt, I have to do way more to be able to get globalist status. So Hilton has a larger footprint, easier and cheaper access to their status. The only real thing that stopped me from switching over to Hilton is that I don't know how I'm gonna be able to acquire enough Hilton points to be able to cover all of my Hilton stays. You see, when it comes to transferring your transferable currencies to different hotel programs, Chase Ultimate Reward points transferring over to Hyatt do it at a 1-to-1 ratio, and World of Hyatt points typically go pretty far when you are redeeming them for their properties. Whereas with Hilton, American Express membership reward points transfer at a 1 American Express point for 2 Hilton Honors points. However, the Hilton Honors points don't go anywhere near as far as the World of Hyatt points. So because of that, I would need some type of transfer bonus for me to make it make sense to grab onto my membership reward points and transfer over to my Hilton Honors account. And the transfer bonus level that I would want it to be, either it being 2.9 Hilton Honors points or 3 Hilton Honors points for each membership reward points, doesn't come around very often. So because of that, while I may want to switch over to being with Hilton, I don't know how I'm going to be able to cover all of my Hilton stays without spending a lot of money or significantly more points than I would with Hyatt. So this is why I'm thinking about being a free agent in 2025. I'm still going to look at Hyatt hotels first, Hilton second, and I also happen to have some free night certificates with Marriott, the 50K certs, and I also got some gift cards with Hotels.com as well. So staying with all these different properties and brands is more than likely going to keep me out of reach for globalists in 2025. But what it will do is allow me to stay where I want when traveling and not have to worry about if a Hyatt hotel is available. One of the things about getting gift cards from Hotels.com made me realize is that while it is really cool to stay at these different branded hotels, they're not the only hotels in the world. If you happen to be traveling to countries that aren't very expensive, it may be wise to move away from the big branded properties. The reason that I say that is because I've realized from looking at Hotels.com that there are some really nice properties that are a lot cheaper than the big branded hotels. Now, I don't think that this works out in major cities like if you happen to be going to London or New York, but say you happen to be looking to go to Vietnam. You could look at staying at the Park Hyatt in Saigon that ends up being 20,000 World of Hyatt points or close to about $300 a night. But if you happen to look at other properties that are right next to this hotel, you'll find some pretty darn nice ones for right around $100 a night. I really do love Hyatt properties, and honestly, I hope that somehow I end up reaching globalist by the end of the year. But my main focus isn't going to be to stay at Hyatt properties in 2025, even though I am a globalist. My main focus is going to be try to stay at some of the coolest properties that are in a convenient area where I can use any one of my points and not just my World of Hyatts. Even though I am going to miss out on some of these amazing perks of being a globalist if I happen to stay at some of these other properties, what I've noticed is that I don't always take full advantage of them. Like I was thinking back to when I went to Istanbul and I stayed at the Park Hyatt Istanbul. This is a great property that I spent 3 nights at, and I was given free breakfast. However, I only had the free breakfast one time. Because the first day I was there, I booked a food tour, so I decided not to eat the breakfast because why would I go on a food tour completely full? The second night I did eat the breakfast. The third day I decided to meet up with some locals who I befriended while I was out there, and we all went out for some miniman. Now again, this isn't knocking the Park Hyatt in Istanbul, but I can't remember the breakfast that I had there. But I'll always remember that miniman that I ate with my Turkish friends. And that breakfast that I ate outside of the property, I believe it cost me €3, so I didn't really lose that much. Now I'm still going to continue to stay at Hyatt properties, but there's a decent chance that in 2026, you're not going to hear me talking about global status. But hopefully you enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comment section down below, are you someone who is a globalist? And if you are, do you think you're going to be maintaining it until next year? Or do you think that this may end up being one of the last years that you're going to be a globalist? Now if you happen to have any questions about World of Hyatt Globalists, drop it down in the comment section down below. I'll do the best I can to answer it. If you haven't been interested in any cards, check out my links in the description box to learn more. If you do decide to use any of my links, it does really help out the channel, and I'll be incredibly thankful for your support. If you want to become a points and miles booking expert, go to Points Travel 101 to learn more. After purchasing my course, you will feel confident with booking business and first class flights around the world. And if you happen to really like this video, do me a favor. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, share this video, and have a beautiful rest of your day.